as you sometimes do in the greatest exhibitions of that sort in Hollywood, go into that and be there.
But I can have a little break first. Can I have a holiday first? But I mean, I think you almost answered your own question in a way, because it's like, look, fate steers weird things. I mean, the very first phone call we made about these projects, which was 17 years ago, when talked about 17 years, and it was 17 years for a friend of mine called Harvey Weinstein, who we had a first look deal with, and the pitch to Harvey was, if you can get us the rights to these books, we'd like to make The Hobbit as one film, and if it's successful, then we'd like to do The Lord of the Rings as 2 movies back to back and release them 6 months apart. That was the big grand plan, and now 17 years later it's sort of become 6 movies, where we did the wrong way round. We did The Lord of the Rings first, then The Hobbit was going to be 2 movies, and it was it's all very weird, unpredictable, and it's not, there doesn't seem to be anything in control. It's just circumstances and fate push you around. But the one thing that I think I'm very proud of, and I say I think because I haven't actually seen them all together at all, but I think that when people do see the 6 films as a series in the right order, that they'll sort of sense that there was some vague design behind it all. As sort of chaotic as it kind of actually was, in the sense of the orders all being changed around, that I hope that, because all the time during, and The Hobbit was obviously the thing that was, because those are the 3 that had to tie in with the earlier 3, is all the time I was thinking that this is going to be a series of films,
and that was expressed to us as well. I think one of the things when I sat down we were talking about Legolas coming in, it was a concern as to whether or not the fans, how they would feel about bringing characters in like Taro and Legolas, who aren't in the books necessarily, but it was made very clear to me by Pete and by Fran that they wanted to explore the backstory to these characters and then tie them in to see those characters move through and make them a connection point for the Lord of the Rings, and that was something in this movie that I think was made very clear and worked really well.
Okay, we've got time for one more question. I think someone's already got a microphone just there.
Hello? It's for Peter. I was wondering, with perhaps the rather overt allegorical import of this instalment in particular, with regards to the unfolding international political picture, is it hard for that not to imbue or inform perhaps the editing? I.e., is it hard to shut the real world out and deal with themes like this?
It's quite a serious question. Well, you're adapting very wonderful books that were written a long time ago, and obviously, the thing with current politics and applying them to anything, like a movie or a book, is that I think it's a test of the timelessness of the book. That if you think of The Hobbit, 1937, World War II hadn't occurred yet, and so you go through that. Vietnam hadn't occurred. I mean, and obviously The Lord of the Rings took off in the States in the 60s because of the Vietnam War. That somehow the Americans at that time embraced that book, which was published in the 50s. Those 3 books, they embraced that because it spoke to them about the Vietnam War. So I think the actual test of people describe things as having a timeless quality, which I think is used in a very loose way a lot of times. But I think the real test of the timelessness of a story is exactly that you can look at the world that you are in at that given time and find things in the story that was written a long time ago that still is true, which means that it's got very basic human truths in it. And we are humans, and we always have been the hundreds and thousands of years, and that is embedded in these stories. It's at the heart of them.
Before I let you go, so Ian, you talked about going to Middle Earth, and I guess the closest that you guys all had to a physical thing of that was New Zealand, and New Zealand being a huge character and part of this whole experience, the time that you spent there, the work that you've done there. If I could just come down the line from Billy at the end all the way down and ask you all to think of a word for you that sums up that experience of time that you spent in that part, in the kind of, I guess, the real Middle Earth. Billy, do you want to start?
Yeah, I will. I'll start with magical.
Why?
It was awesome in the sorts of visual sense. Everything was
More than one word.
awesome is one word.
Awesome's
Awesome.
Luke?
Memorable.
Well, I live there. I'm lucky enough to live there, so
You can still give us a word.
about New Zealand.
Yeah.
New Zealand. I'm going to say, as the Kiwis would say, it's magic. It's magic.
So Ian?
And they also say, God Joe.
Martin?
Fantastic.
Home. Pinot Noir.
Evangeline?
I'm hijacking my answer for a minute. There are two journalists in the crowd that are freaking me out as a fan of the Lord of the Rings movies. We have Frodo in the second row right here. You see that, guys? You know, so much like Elijah Wood. And Mary in the back row. Stand up. The guy with the spiky hair. That's like Dominic Monaghan's doppelganger out there. Sorry, Oasis.
Family.
Inspiring.
Progressive.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm sorry we couldn't get through all your questions, and a huge round of applause for our incredible cast and crew.